Stocks trend up as investors hedge their bets on the economy reopening. An activist dressed as the Grim Reaper goes to scare beachgoers over Memorial Day. Gretchen Whitmer has a problem with letting her husband use a boat permit. And Greece has invaded Turkey. It's going to be all this and more. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. We had a holiday weekend and we had a bunch of news happen over the holiday weekend, but it just sort of dropped off. I guess everybody forgot that they couldn't stand each other for just a moment over the holiday, but I anticipate over the rest of the week they'll be back in full swing, but we do have kind of a slow news day today. But before we get started, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. I got to interview Freckles from the Freckles and Brit Show, and I forgot to change my titles too, by the way, I noticed before I went started here. But I got to interview her last night. It was a great interview. You can check that out over there, and her show over there as well. We also have The Generational Gap, Stephen Ignoramus, Wyatt Birkenhoff, and the R-Rated Conservative. So come over and check us all out over on freedomscoop.com, rather. I was just about to say The Generational Gap. Over on freedomscoop.com. Come and check us out over there. So we're going to start with our stocks, which we're not going to look at the chart because we looked at it yesterday and it was a holiday, so it's not going to change very much as we go along. But from Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones today, futures rally as COVID-19 vaccine rates heats up. Sanofi exits Regeneron. Stocks squared off for an early jump Tuesday as positive coronavirus sentiment coming off the long Memorial Day weekend fueled a pre-market rally. Merck, Novavax, and Co-Diagnostics jumped due to COVID-19 vaccine and testing news. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals tumbled as a major shareholder exited. Boeing snapped to the head of the Dow Jones today. Global markets rolled higher Tuesday as Japan led a rally across Asia's benchmark and Europe's markets were firmly higher, passing the midday mark. In the U.S., Dow futures scrambled 2% higher, while S&P 500's futures traded 1.9% above fair value. Small caps were poised to outpace the early action, with Russell 2000 futures up 3.2%. NASDAQ 100 futures held to a 1.6% gain as Regeneron Pharmaceutical dived 3.7% to the bottom of the index. The company announced a share offering Monday as France-based Sanofi exited its $23.2 million share stake. Regeneron agreed to purchase half the shares directly from Sanofi. United Airline Holdings and Expedia topped the NASDAQ 100. Seattle Genetics popped 2.7% as biotech staged an early rally. Cosmetics brands Coty sailed to the head of the S&P 500, up 13%, although shares remained below 5. Cruise lines, airlines, and hotel chains dominated the index in early trade. On the IBD 50 list, Dropbox led with a 3% gain. The database software leader ended Friday less than 7% below a 23.13 buy point in a cup-with-handle base. Among leaderboard stocks, ServiceNow and Dexcom each climbed more than 2%. Vaccine optimism factored prominently in early trade Monday as biotech Novavax rallied 25% after announcing it had launched phase 1 clinical trials of a coronavirus vaccine candidate. Still not taking it. Merck swung 3.6% higher after the New Jersey-based drug maker announced the acquisition of vaccine and immunomodulation therapy developer Themis Bioscience. Merck also announced a collaboration with Ridgeback Bio to develop an oral antiviral treatment for COVID-19. Among other coronavirus-related stocks, test maker Co-Diagnostics popped more than 4% after reporting that its test successfully identified coronavirus in cancerous tissues. Germany-based biotech BioNTech rallied 2.3% early. And it looks like the airlines are getting ready to jump back up too. Boeing America snapped 5.8% higher pre-market. Do not often carry over into regular trade, but Boeing's pre-market action implied the stock would move back into positive territory for the month. Boeing is struggling to snap 5 straight months of declines. Raytheon, Merck, and American Express all rose more than 3% in pre-market action. More than 20 of Dow's 30 issues had gained better than 1% in early action. Well, one of the other things you have to keep in mind with that too, and we'll probably see a little bit more of this coming from CNBC, but people were also out. Half the country's open right now. People are also out taking a look and buying stuff because they could, because it's a holiday weekend. They're out traveling, buying stuff, buying those little trinkets off the side of the road, and any other thing that you could possibly think of, especially with American Express going up because who uses cash anymore? All right, let's see what CNBC has to say. Dow futures jump 500 points as investors bet on the economy reopening and a vaccine breakthrough. This is from Fred Imbert and Yoon Lee. Stock futures traded sharply higher early Tuesday to begin a holiday-shortened week as optimism grew about the reopening of the economy and a potential coronavirus vaccine. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average pointed to an implied opening gain of 516 points. Dow futures added 513 points, or 2.1%. S&P 500 futures gained 1.9%. NASDAQ 100 futures rose 1.9%. U.S. markets were closed Monday in observance of Memorial Day. Here's what the markets are watching. Novavax said Monday it started its first human study of its coronavirus vaccine. The company said it expects initial results on safety and immune responses in July. Last week, Moderna reported positive development on its vaccine. Economic activity continued to pick up as states began opening their economies. The biggest gainers in the pre-market were directly tied to the reopening. Carnival, MGM, and United Airlines and Southwest all rose. The S&P 500 was set to meet or exceed its 200-day moving average. After the open Monday, the benchmark needs to gain 1.8% to reach the milestone. Many technical analysts look at that moving average as a sign of the long-term trend. Rising above it could signal a change in long-term trend from bearish to bullish. And if NBC is telling you that there's good news with a Republican in office, there's probably really good news coming out of this. And once again, it's all tied to the economy opening up. Because people want to go back to work and they want to spend money. That's what they want to do. We're capitalists. We're greedy. We want stuff. So as long as there's stuff for us to buy, we're going to go out and buy the stuff and worry about it later. And that's what's really going to start helping a lot of this stuff. A lot of the economy out. It's going to be what helps to open a lot of this back up. All right, let's get into the news. From CNN, thousands disregarded the health guidance over the weekend despite rising coronavirus cases in more than a dozen states. This is from Christina Maxoris. Packing the beaches, pool parties, and outdoor gatherings all over the U.S., many Americans used the holiday weekend to mark the unofficial beginning of summer, ditching the face mask and social distancing urged by health officials. Many people undoubtedly continued to abide by new restrictions set in place to curb the spread of the coronavirus, staying in small groups, wearing masks, and keeping a distance from others. But in some parts of the country, Memorial Day happenings looked not at all unlike any other year. People jammed into tight spaces, grabbed drinks in groups at oceanfront bars, and lined their chairs and towels alongside each other on the beach. The holiday weekend push for the return to normal life comes as health officials continue to warn that the U.S. has not contained the virus. So far, more than 1.6 million Americans have been affected, and at least 98,223 have died, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. In 10 states, the number of new cases is on the decline, while it seems to be steady in 22 states, according to the data. But in 18 states, including Georgia, Arkansas, California, and Alabama, the number of new cases is rising. Another shot of that fear porn. That didn't appear to be a concern for some of the thousands of beachgoers who spent the weekend in Gulf Shores, Alabama. My family has the same mindset as me, and we kind of just agreed that if we get it, we get it. We're going to handle it as a family and get over it, one beachgoer told CNN's Gary Tuchman. How dare you not be afraid? We are CNN and we know better, and we will tell you what to be afraid of. So, yeah, people are just, I said it yesterday when I said what restored my faith in humanity. People are ready to go back to normal. They are sick of the fear porn that CNN's been peddling. They want to get back out there and enjoy their life. Is too short not to enjoy it. So, they want to get back out there. They want to do it again. And they want to spend the money. They want to go back to work. And they want to just enjoy their summer. All right, next one here from the Daily Wire. Activist who costumed as Grim Reaper targeting Florida beachgoers now offers something really offensive: body bags. This is from Hank Berrien. On Saturday, attorney Daniel Ulfelder, who apparently has a propensity for finding the most offensive gestures one could imagine to warn Florida beachgoers to stay home, announced he has a new one to offer them: body bags. Ulfelder tweeted, "Beginning next Saturday, I will have a team handing out free body bags throughout the state to Florida beachgoers. Each body bag costs $10. We ordered a few hundred tonight. Please consider chipping in $10 to cover the cost of a body bag. For every $10 contribution, we are able to order another one to hand out." Oh, this guy sounds like a dick. Ulfelder has consistently tweeted that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has blood on his hands. His most recent example came on Friday, writing, "It was great to join the Daily Show." There we go. And discuss our Grim Reaper tour. Please watch, and if you agree that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has blood on his hands, retweet this. In late April, Ulfelder said he would start wearing a Grim Reaper costume to the beaches to warn beachgoers against congregating there. I mean, this is a dude that is dedicated to his bit. I mean, he's an asshole, don't get me wrong, but he's dedicated to his bit. I've never been to Florida, but from what I understand from listening to people talk, it is no joke being out on the beach in the heat and humidity. It is no joke out there whatsoever. And if he's going to wear a large, heavy black robe to walk around, dude's dedicated to the bit, I'll give him that. Ulfelder said to NBC News of his Grim Reaper stunt, "I felt like something needed to be done because they're moving very quickly to open beaches prematurely. Wearing a Grim Reaper costume seems like a good way to send a signal that this is too fast and that we need to think seriously before we take that step." Well, no. It sounds like a way for you to get your ass beat by a college jock who's trying to score some college tale is what it sounds like. Ulfelder tweeted, "Many of you asked if I'm willing to travel around Florida wearing the Grim Reaper attire to the beaches and other areas of the state opening up prematurely. The answer is absolutely yes. Beginning May 1st, we will hit the road here in the state. Please retweet and spread the word." NBC News noted in March Ulfelder wore a paintball costume at beaches as he badgered people about maintaining social distance. After one woman commented that he was scaring people, he said, "I said, okay, that's good. If people are scared, then they'll leave. I want to go back to normal as soon as possible too, but opening our beaches too early is not the way to do this." So, yeah, this is... I mean, it's a publicity stunt, obviously, but, yeah, this... Nobody cares. We've been hearing for the last, 3 months that the world is ending. And the world hasn't ended yet. I mean, Skeeter Davis hasn't started crooning out her famous 60s ballad. Don't you know this is the end of the world? So, yeah, no. This is just, like I said, the guy's dedicated, but he's still an ass. Alright, next one here. This is a Twitter tweet. No, Twitter tweet. That's kind of implied. This is a Twitter post that I found. It's a video here, so I'll turn your headphones on. I've already listened to it, but we'll turn your headphones on and see what we have going on here. From McAuley, Staten Islanders will, with masks, drive out non-mask wearing person in grocery store. This is out of New York, obviously. So let's get your audio on and let's hear what they had to say.
Get out!
Yeah, grown-ass woman that acts like a dirty-ass kid. Fucking dirty-ass, huh? What do you think? Fucking tree!
So, these are charming fellows, I will give it that, but... I mean, the other side of that is... Yes, we have freedom to do so, but... I'll give it to the Staten Islanders. If you do want to get something done, whether it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, the best way to do it is by social pressure. They are socially pressuring the woman in the mask not to be in the store without the mask. They're socially pressuring her to go out and come back with a mask, rather than having the government do it. I don't agree with their premise, but they are leaving the government out of it, so I will give them that. I I will extend that olive branch to them because as long as they keep the government out of it, I'm a happy guy. All right, another one here from the Daily Wire. California unveils new guidelines after Trump calls for houses of worship to reopen. This is from Eric Quintanar. Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled the new public health guidelines for houses of worship in California on Monday, several days after President Trump publicly called on services to resume as essential parts of American life. Counties can now begin reopening houses of worship and in-store shopping for retail, said Newsom. California has continued to flatten the curve because folks are staying home, practicing physical distancing, and taking this seriously. While the governor's announcement says that houses of worship can resume operations, Newsom has repeatedly stressed that the individual counties have the authority to implement stricter public health guidelines than the state's own guidelines. Thus, it's unclear how many counties will actually allow houses of worship promptly resume operations. Newsom originally claimed churches would not be able to reopen until Phase 3 of his 4-phase plan, but he appears to have modified his plan amidst pressure from the Trump administration and from religious leaders across the state who said they were planning to hold services on May 31st, with or without the governor's approval. These are places that hold our society together and keep our people united. The people are demanding to go to church and synagogue to go to their mosque, said the president during an address on Friday. The governors need to do the right thing, the best thing, and allow these very important, essential places of faith to open right now or this weekend. Under California's new 13-page guidelines, places of worship must cap attendance at 25% capacity, or 100 people, whichever represents the lower threshold. The limits on attendance remain in place for the first 21 days of a county public health department's approval of religious services and cultural ceremonies activities at places of worship. The guidelines also encourage houses of worship to continue virtual services instead of resuming in-person services. If in-person services are held, the guidelines encourage houses of worship to adopt a reservation system and strongly consider discontinuing singing, group recitation, and other practices, and performances where there's an increased likelihood for transmission from contaminated exhale droplets, among dozens of other recommendations. Or, and here's a crazy thought, why don't you just get the government out of the way and let the people decide and assess their own level of risk? Here's the thing. I know that one of the attacks on religion is people are just sheep who do whatever the shepherd or the pastor tells them to, but that's pretty much what people are doing with the government on a day-to-day basis anyway, so I don't get what your argument is, except for the fact that they're worshiping God and not the government. But people are smarter than you think, and they know how to assess their own level of risk. I mean, look at Britt, who's been on this show before and who works over on the Freedom Scoop Media Group as well. There was nothing requiring Britt to go and self-isolate herself into her house to avoid life for anything else. Legally, there was nothing that was barring her to do so. I mean, yes, they had the stay-at-home order, but she took it to a level beyond what the stay-at-home order was, because she assessed the level of risk, given the fact that she has an immunocompromised son. She assessed the level of risk individually and adjusted her lifestyle for the level of risk that was present at the time. Yes, there were overbearing markers that came along with Governor Gavin Newsom's and Eric Garcetti, to an extent, orders that went along with it, but she assessed a level of risk and took actions further beyond what California did. People can assess their own level of risk and make their own decisions. And the ones that can't get the Darwin Award. So yeah, why don't you just step out of the way, government, and let the people decide what it is that they want to do. Next one here from CNN. A white woman has apologized after calling police on a black man saying there's an African-American man threatening my life. This is from Amir Vera. A white woman has apologized to calling police on a black man in Central Park on Monday after the two argued about her unleashed dog. Amy Cooper told CNN she wanted to publicly apologize to everybody. I'm not a racist. I did not mean to harm that man in any way, she said, adding that she also didn't mean to harm to the African American community. She was walking her dog on Monday while Christian Cooper was birdwatching at a wooded area of Central Park called the Ramble. Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper are not related. They both told CNN the dispute began because Amy Cooper's dog was not on a leash. Dogs are supposed to be leashed at all times in the Ramble, according to the park's website. The dog has been surrendered to the shelter, and he was adopted from days earlier while the dispute is addressed, according to a Facebook post from the Abandoned Angels Cocker Spaniel Rescue Incorporated. The dog is now in our rescue's care, and he is safe and in good health, the post said. Christian Cooper recorded the video of the encounter and posted it to Facebook, where it has since been shared more than 2,000 times. I'm taking a picture and calling the cops, Amy Cooper is heard saying in the video. I'm going to tell them there's an African American man threatening my life. Oof. Yeah, that doesn't go over real well in New York City. The New York Police Department told CNN when officers responded, neither Christian Cooper nor Amy Cooper were present. No arrest summonses were made, according to NYPD. I think I was just scared, Amy Cooper said. When you're alone in the ramble, you don't know what's happening. It's not excusable. It's not defensible. She told CNN that since the video was posted, her entire life is being destroyed right now. Well, you said it. And if that's not the outcome that you want from socially and publicly shaming people, then perhaps you should rethink that the next time that you want to go out and socially, publicly shame somebody. And that's something that you have to keep in mind with some of these people. When they go out and they make the protests, they call the employers and do everybody else's life, and they can't stand it when it goes back and happens to them at the same way. So this is something you have to consider as you go on, because the mob will come out and destroy your social life and possibly your regular life if they decide they want to call and get you fired from your job. Alright, next one here. From Fox. Michigan Governor Whitmer caught in Memorial Day lockdown controversy over husband's reported boat request. This is from Morgan Phillips. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer faced backlash from Republican lawmakers after a reported request from her husband to get the family's boat out on the water before Memorial Day weekend far from their home in Lansing. Whitmer, a Democrat, famously imposed one of the strictest lockdowns in the country, sparking frequent protests. What's more, she's told the people not living in northern Michigan to stay away from vacation spots there during the holiday weekend. In Facebook post no longer visible to the public, North Shore Dock LLC and its owner, Tad Dowker, focused on what Dowker said was a request last week by Whitmer's husband, Mark Mallory. The post caught the... Of course she didn't take his name. Why? Why must you be such a stereotype, Gretchen Whitmer? The post caught the attention of the Republican state lawmakers who said the governor's family may not have wanted to follow the guidance she's issued for the rest of the state. Rules for thee and not for me. This morning I was out working when the office called me. There was a gentleman on the hold who wanted his boat on the water before the weekend, Dowker posted. Being Memorial Day weekend and the fact that we started working 3 weeks late means there's no chance that is going to happen. He continued, our office personnel had explained to this man and he replied, I am the husband of the governor, will this make a difference? The docking company later noted that Mallory respectively accepted that the accommodation would not be possible. Whitmer spokeswoman Tiffany Brown refused to comment on the matter, saying the administration wouldn't address every rumor that is spread online, the Detroit News reported. Last Monday, Whitmer announced restrictions would be lifted in some regions of northern Michigan, but urged those who don't live in the region to stay away. If you don't live in these regions, think long and hard before you make the trip into them, she said. A small spike could put the hospital system in dire straits pretty quickly. That's precisely why we're asking everyone to continue doing their part. Don't descend on waterfront, Traverse City, from all regions of the state. And yet she's telling people not to go to their vacation homes, and she was seen in her vacation home earlier on. So yeah, this is rich. You don't get full run of the state because you went out and told everybody else that they're not allowed to come out of their houses. And hey, maybe that's just what she wanted to do. She wanted to walk around the state without anybody talking to her, so she locked everybody in. Alright, next one here from CNN. This is from CNN Business. Let me get a drink here. The rental car industry has ground to a near halt. This is what it means for automakers and car buyers. This is from Chris Isidore. The nation's rental car companies are in deep trouble, and that's another blow for the already struggling auto industry. During normal times, rental car companies account for 10% more of U.S. new car sales, an estimated 1.7 million to 1.9 million car purchases last year. But these are not normal times, far from it. But rental car companies get 2/3 of their revenue from airport locations, with flying down 94% in April and May. According to data of people passing through TSA checkpoints, there are far fewer people needing to rent cars. So much of the non-airport business comes from customers whose cars were involved in accidents, and with insurance companies paying for some or all of the rental bill. But with driving way down, accidents are also way down, so much that insurance companies have voluntarily returned more than $7 billion in premiums to customers. So the rental car companies are in dire straits. Hertz, which filed for bankruptcy late Friday night, had already said that it doesn't intend to buy any more cars this year. It had missed payments in April as to a group of lenders who hold leases on most of its U.S. fleet. The company that rents under the Hertz, Dollar, and Thrifty brands. Rival Avis Budget Cars is in better financial shape, but it's also losing money. It said in March it cut its new car purchase plans for the rest of the year by 80%. And even with that near halt in purchases, both companies, along with privately owned enterprise, are stuck with literally hundreds of thousands of unneeded cars. The parking lots at Southern California sports venues like Dodger Stadium and Angel Stadium are packed with rental cars, giving them the look of sellouts even without games being played, recent photos in the LA Times showed. But those cars won't stay here. The companies are likely to sell off a significant portion of the estimated 1.5 million cars they have in their U.S. fleets in the weeks and months to come, according to the experts. They don't need them, and they need the cash. Jeff Schuster, president of global forecasting for the automotive research firm LMC. There are likely to be at least hundreds of thousands of rental cars sold to the used car market, said Zoe Rahim, manager of economic industry insights for Cox Automotive. He said it's tough to know how deep the cuts will be. Hertz said it has sold 41,000 cars from its U.S. fleet and another 13,000 cars in Europe in early March. But that the halting of used car auctions and closure many used and new car dealerships essentially brought sales to a halt. The difficulty in continuing to sell cars is one of the reasons it's cited because of its bankruptcy filing. Avis Budget said it already cut its U.S. fleet by 35,000 in the first half of March. But it's clear as used car sales channels get back to normal, so will plans to by rental car companies to slash the size of their fleets. Avis Budget said it expects its fleets in Americas will be reduced by 20% by the end of June compared to a year earlier. I think the used market is bracing for quite an influx of vehicles, which will drive prices down and put pressures on the market, said Schuster. Yeah, dudes, if you guys want to go buy a car, the next few months is going to be the time to do so. I'm debating going and getting another one, just because I know how cheap they're going to be. I'm almost kicking myself in the ass for the fact that I bought this. No, I'm not kicking myself in the ass for that. That was a rare find on that truck, especially for the price that I paid for it. That was a rare find. That is a really nice truck for 16 grand. But I'm kicking myself a little bit just based on the fact that, used car prices are going to go down without the flood of rental cars to go with it. But I mean, to go out and pick out, I haven't owned a car in so long, I wouldn't even know what the standard model is. To go out and pick out a Taurus for probably a couple grand, a really, really late model Taurus for a couple grand, that is going to be huge. I bet the trucks come down too. I bet you go out and steal some of these used trucks right now just for the prices that you're going to be paying for them for probably the rest of the year at this point. And yes, of course, there's no new car inventory coming in because all the auto lines stopped for a little while. But I mean, is that going to be enough to offset the hundreds of thousands of cars that are coming in? Is going to be the question. It'd be an interesting one to watch as well. Maybe I'll get a Volkswagen. I don't know. I do want to get a BMW for whatever reason. I've never been into luxury cars, but I know that if you get a 3 Series, particularly later model, you get the inline 6 with a manual transmission. You can still get a comfortable car with a manual transmission. So maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. All right, next one here. Court sides with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer after GOP lawmakers challenge her coronavirus restrictions. The Michigan Court of Claims ruled Governor Gretchen Whitmer has the authority to keep her state under a state of emergency without legislative approval after GOP lawmakers challenged her extension of sweeping restrictions. Republicans in the House and Senate were frustrated with Whitmer's one-side strategy to stop the spread of the coronavirus by keeping people at home and shutting businesses in the regions minimally affected by the virus and far from the state's epicenter, the Detroit area. The legislature did not approve the extension of Whitmer's emergency declaration, but she enacted it anyway, extending the stay-at-home order until May 28th, but loosening some restrictions. On May 18th, Whitmer allowed retail businesses, bars, and restaurants in 2 regions to open at a limited capacity. And while gatherings are discouraged, groups of 10 or fewer will not be cited for gathering. The judge said a 1945 law cited by Whitmer is not limited to local and regional emergencies, but can be used on a statewide level. The legislature said that Whitmer violated the law, which says lawmakers get a role in emergency declarations lasting longer than 28 days. Indeed, the judge said the governor can't use that law to extend emergencies without input from lawmakers. But Whitmer won the case anyway. It would take a particularly strained reading of the plain text of the law to conclude that a grant of authority to deal with a public crisis that affects all the people of the state would somehow be constrained to a certain locality, Judge Cynthia Stevens said. The claims are meritless, she said. Stevens' decision was the 3rd time that a Court of Claims judge ruled in the governor's favor. The other lawsuits were brought by residents, a business owner, and a new group that has organized protests at the Capitol. So, what they tried to do in Wisconsin, they tried to do in Michigan, but they won over here and they lost over in Michigan. So, I think Gretchen Whitmer should just keep tightening that vice up more and more and more as she goes along. Because it'll show the true colors of what these people want to do to you. And she wants to be the vice president on top of it. Alright, we just got a couple more here. No, go away advertising. Alright, from the Daily Wire. After saying she believes Tara Reade, Ilhan Omar clarifies, I'm still voting for Biden. This is from Paul Bois. Over the weekend, far-left Representative Ilhan Omar sent shockwaves across the political landscape when she said she believed Joe Biden accuser Tara Reade. After a significant backlash on social media, Omar clarified that she will still be voting for Biden come November. Miss Omar, I'm not an admirer, a user tweeted at Omar. We know that MAGA and Russia are working to defeat Ahmad Dem. I found the comments irresponsible. You should have said, I don't know if Tara Reade is telling the truth, and of course, as a surrogate of Bernie's, I don't want Biden. Omar said in a response, believing survivors is consistent with my values. Yes, I endorsed against Biden, and I didn't pick him as our nominee. With that said, in this interview I did on May 6th, we talked about that, and quotes aren't always in context. I will vote for him and help defeat Trump. When asked about what she believed with Tara Reade, she said, some people did some things. I made that last part up. Speaking with the UK's Sunday Times, Omar said that justice should not be denied regarding Reade's allegation against Biden. She also allegedly told the interviewer that Biden would not be the nominee if she had the final decision. I do believe Reade, said Omar. Justice can be delayed, but should never be denied. While the mainstream media and other prominent Democrats have tirelessly tried to dismiss Reade as a liar, a treatment far different than that Kavanaugh accuser Christine Blasey Ford, other Democrats have flatly stated that they will vote for Joe Biden, even though they believe Reade. Author Linda Hirschman gave this argument legs in a recent op-ed for The New York Times. Earlier this month, AOC, a member of the Radical Squad along with Omar, said that Reade's allegations against Biden is not clear-cut while conceding that something has happened between the two. There have been investigative journalists that have corroborated certain aspects of her account that is undeniable and have raised questions about other aspects of the account, Ocasio-Cortez told NPR. It certainly seems as though something has happened. I'm not sure. Frankly, this is a messy moment, and I think we need to acknowledge that it is not clear-cut. I can't with these people. I really can't with these people. They would be calling for the cross if this was an independent, a libertarian, or a conservative. But their TDS is so strong that they don't care. They will turn their back on their own movements to make sure that the orange man doesn't make it in. And it's sad. It shows their true color. I can really see the Democratic Party collapsing at some point here. I really can. I mean, it would be nice to see a conservative and a libertarian party rather than two statist parties. I talked about this with Freckles last night. Rather than having two statist parties go out there and push their own statist agenda against each other, have something that's liberty-minded versus something that's statist. I don't know. All right. Last one here, and then we'll do Twitter trending. Greece and Turkey in border dispute after alleged island occupation. Turkish military forces have reportedly occupied an island in the Evros River, the natural border between Turkey and Greece. Athens has denied the reports, yet relations between the Mediterranean neighbors remains tense. Apparently, this German publication does not put authors' names on here. Border tensions between Greece and Turkey aren't new. Back in 2012, Greek authorities erected a 3-meter, 10-foot-high barbed wire fence along 6 miles of the Evros River, which runs between the two countries, to stem irregular migration. This past February, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is that how you say his name? I just knew Erdogan, but I didn't know the rest of his name, opened his side of the border, allowing migrants to stream towards the Greek side, only to be forcefully repelled by Greek border police. In mid-April, Athens announced plans to extend its fence on Greek soil by another 26 kilometers near the border town of Faris. On May 11th, however, Turkey's foreign minister objected to the project, urging a meeting of experts from both countries to ensure inviolability of the border. That's a word you never use anymore, inviolability. I think that's going to be our word of the day. The fact is, however, the Greek-Turkish border has always been in a state of flux. Over time, the riverbed of the Evros has changed, which is absolutely normal in this region, said Konstantinos Philis, executive director of the Athens-based Institute of International Relations. For this reason alone, there may be slight changes in the border. As example, he points to the formation of a small swamp along the river in recent rainy months, which has now dried up. The area in question, apparently less than a hectare, has made it difficult to discern where exactly the true border now runs. Phyllis told the DW that it wasn't clear whether Turkish security forces had illegally entered Greek territory, but that didn't stop Greece's left-wing opposition under the leadership of former Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras from demanding the government address Turkey's arbitrary and aggressive actions. But Greece's armed forces have dismissed reports of Turkish incursion, and even right-wing daily Demokratia, known for its regular attacks on Turkey, has expressed doubt over the incident. So we are seeing a lot of tensions around the world. I know, once again, Freckles and I talked last night about China getting a big dick about everything and deciding that they want to go after Hong Kong and India, plus buy one of our representatives. And I do see China, if a war were to break out, I do see China being as the center of it at this point, which is a little bit eerie given the fact that I'm playing Fallout New Vegas on my game streams, but I mean, you'd have to know a little bit more about the Fallout lore to understand that. The Fallout lore says that the world was ended by a nuclear war that lasted 10 minutes in 2077 between China and the US, which had been increasing tensions as they'd gone along. Now it's 57 years before that, and we are ramping up tensions with China right now. Keep that in mind. But I wouldn't discount this either, because the Middle East and Europe are going to go after each other. I mean, Europe closed borders for the first time in years to its own people, and of course to the people that are emigrating across from the Middle East as well. So they closed their borders, and there are going to be tensions that are rising up against that too. Plus tensions in Europe among their own closed borders on top of this. We're in a tense state in this world right now. It's something to watch. It's something to keep an eye on. And I am going to be paying a lot more attention to the rest of the world than just the United States, as much as I can with the news. All right. So it's Tuesday, Yesterday I said what restores my faith in humanity, and today we're going to look at Twitter trending, and I'm going to lose my faith in humanity. So we will get up here, get back onto the home page, and look at Twitter trends. Trends for you. No, we're going to do trending. So, number one trending, Tuesday vibes. Shaping up to be one of those days. Garden is a blaze of color right now. Yeah, a lot of people just enjoying the fact that they're going back home after their holiday weekend. Some of them are going back to work, some of them are not, but they're just enjoying their Tuesday vibes. Number two trend, Amy Cooper. This is the one we talked about earlier who was scared of the black man attacking her and got roasted on social media for it. We talked about that story already. Number three, Tuesday thoughts. You could tell it's a slow news day because 4 of the top 5 trends say Tuesday in them. We've got our inspirational quotes and our Tuesday thoughts up here. Trending number 4, Tuesday motivation. Oh, look at the duckies. I'm sorry, those are not ducks. Those are goslings. Wow. I'm awake. Once again, various inspirational quotes as we go along here. And the last one, we'll read number 5, top trend in the US. Monstax Fantasia. This is a K-pop thing, apparently. I don't know anything about K-pop. It looks like a bunch of boy bands. Does Korea just do what we did 30 years later? Is that just what they do? Because that's exactly what this looks like. The Backstreet Boys 30 years later. And Asian. Let's do 6. Just because I had no idea what number 5 was. So 6 is Sean King. Sean King keeps raising money and not delivering on his promises. So apparently Sean King has reneged on something and didn't give out the money that he had raised for something. And it's interesting because they made him look as white as possible in the Daily Beast for this one. So now they're mad at him. Now they admit that he's white, and now they don't try to make him look like he's black. That's interesting. All right, that's going to be it for the day. So I think it's time for us to get on out of here. So we will be back here later on tonight with more Ed's World Gaming. We're going to go back. We're going to do some more Fallout New Vegas. We got to finish that up. Because the sooner we finish that up, the sooner we can go out and play other games. And there is an increasing library out there for us to play. And I'm getting ready to start my PC build so we can actually play bigger and better and more newer games too. So that'll be coming up in the near future. But come down and join me for some more Fallout New Vegas. Otherwise, we'll be back here tomorrow with more news and possibly even more of the world ending. We will see, because everybody's back to work, so everybody can argue about things again. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.